The movie begins inside a tense office environment where multiple employees are being laid off one by one. At the center of it all is Jack, the company owner, whose business is collapsing. His face clearly reflects stress, exhaustion, and the burden of everything falling apart around him. As he continues firing employees, an elderly man suddenly approaches him in desperation. The man explains that he has worked at the company for years and is just about to retire. He pleads with Jack, begging him not to fire him. He even offers to work without pay or at a reduced salary just to keep his job. But Jack refuses. He tries to explain that the company cannot survive like this anymore. Hearing this, the old man's desperation turns into rage. In a shocking moment, he pulls out a gun. Panic spreads across the office. Everyone freezes. Jack, terrified, closes his eyes and begs for his life. He tells the man that his wife recently had a miscarriage and is already struggling emotionally. If something happens to him, she will not survive either. The room falls silent, and then suddenly, a gunshot echoes. Blood splashes onto Jack's face. When he opens his eyes, he sees the horrifying truth. The old man has shot himself. The shock of this moment completely shatters Jack's mental state. For a brief moment, he almost loses control. With great effort, he manages to calm himself. Realizing he needs to escape this overwhelming situation, he decides to leave the city for a few days. He calls his wife, Amy, and tells her about a trip they will take together the next day. Amy is genuinely happy, even though she is still emotionally fragile. That evening, Jack goes to a bar, hoping to clear his mind. But nothing seems to help. His thoughts remain disturbed. At the bar, he notices a young woman arguing loudly with the bartender over a drink. Annoyed by the noise, Jack steps in and tells the bartender to give her the drink, offering to pay for it himself. Impressed by his gesture, the girl approaches him and begins flirting. But Jack immediately shuts it down. He makes it clear that he is married and has no intention of cheating. With that, he leaves the bar. The next morning, Jack and Amy leave for their vacation. Amy still looks emotionally affected, but she appreciates her husband's effort to make her feel better. During the journey, Jack receives a series of messages from an unknown number. The sender introduces herself as Julia, the same girl from the bar. But what she says next is shocking. She tells Jack that she knows he loves his wife and doesn't want any trouble. Then she threatens him. If he wants to keep his wife safe, he must pay her 500,000 euros. Otherwise, she will reveal everything about what happened at the bar. The situation makes no sense. Nothing inappropriate happened between them. Jack simply bought her a drink. Yet, she is blackmailing him. Being a smart businessman, Jack refuses to give in. He replies that his lawyer will handle the situation and switches off his phone, ignoring her threats completely. He doesn't even notice that she continues sending more messages. Instead, he focuses on spending time with Amy. They arrive at their hotel and spend the night there peacefully. The next morning, they go for a hot air balloon ride. Everything seems normal again. The operator mentions that another passenger will be joining them, so they wait for her arrival. But when she finally shows up, Jack's world freezes. It is Julia. Before he can react, the balloon takes off. At first, everything feels calm, but slowly, tension begins to build. Julia starts talking to Amy in a very familiar way. What's even more unsettling is that she knows personal details about Amy, including her miscarriage. Jack becomes visibly uneasy. He doesn't understand how Julia knows all this. Whether he accidentally revealed something at the bar or she found out on her own, the situation is becoming dangerous. Amy notices Jack's discomfort, but doesn't fully understand what's going on. After some time, Amy asks Julia to take a picture of them. Julia agrees. Then, she turns to Jack and asks him to take a picture of her. She hands him her phone. When Jack looks at the screen, he sees a typed message waiting for him. It reads, "If you don't pay me, you will regret it." But Jack ignores it once again. He simply takes her picture and returns the phone. This silent defiance triggers something inside Julia. Her expression changes. She is no longer just threatening him. Now, she is angry. At this point, Julia drops all pretenses. She stops being subtle and directly confronts Jack, loudly demanding that he pay her immediately and settle everything right then and there. Her sudden aggression shocks Amy, who immediately asks what money she is talking about. Before Julia can respond, Jack quickly steps in and tells Amy to ignore her. He explains that Julia is just a troublemaker from the bar who created a scene, and now she is trying to blackmail him over nothing. Hearing this, Amy gets angry and lashes out at Julia, calling her shameless for trying to extort money. But Julia doesn't back down. Instead, she turns the situation around and accuses Jack. She claims that Jack approached her at the bar and behaved inappropriately. To prove her point, she reveals something deeply personal. She says that Jack has a birthmark on his chest. This shocks Amy completely because it is true. Jack does have that mark. Suspicion immediately fills her mind. Seeing her reaction, Jack tries to explain. He tells her that Julia must have seen his shirtless photos online, where the birthmark is clearly visible. He confidently tells Julia that she cannot blackmail him like this. For a moment, Julia falls silent, as if she has been exposed. But instead of giving up, she takes things to a dangerous level. Suddenly, she grabs the operator's knife and points it at Jack, demanding money once again. The situation escalates instantly. The terrified operator tries to call the base station for help, but before he can say anything, Julia stabs him. Seeing this, Jack immediately attacks Julia from behind and pins her against the basket. The injured operator gathers his strength and helps Jack try to take the knife away from her. But during the struggle, things go horribly wrong. The knife accidentally cuts the gas pipe of the balloon. Gas begins leaking rapidly, and within seconds, the flame bursts out uncontrollably. The fire catches Julia, setting her body ablaze. In panic, the operator quickly shuts off the gas supply, and they throw clothes over Julia to extinguish the fire. But the damage is already done. Without gas, the balloon can no longer be controlled. The only way to manage the balloon now is through the top vent, which is connected to a rope. But the rope has been burned and is out of reach. Slowly, the balloon begins to rise uncontrollably, drifting higher and higher into the sky. As they ascend, the air becomes thinner. Oxygen levels drop, and all of them begin to feel dizzy and sick. The danger increases further as they reach an altitude where planes could collide with them at any moment. In a desperate attempt to save them, the operator risks his life and climbs up to grab the vent rope. But just as he is about to reach it, Julia regains consciousness. Without hesitation, she pushes him down, killing him instantly. Before anything else can happen, both Jack and Amy lose consciousness due to the lack of oxygen. The balloon continues rising, pushing them closer to death. Amy slowly regains consciousness first. Realizing the situation, she understands that if she doesn't act immediately, they will all die. Despite her weakness and dizziness, she forces herself to climb up, just like the operator did. After struggling through the height and lack of oxygen, she finally reaches the rope. With all her strength, she pulls it and secures it in place. The top vent opens, and the balloon finally begins to descend. As the oxygen levels improve, Jack regains consciousness. The first thing he does is tie Julia's hands and feet to prevent her from attacking again. But tension still remains between him and Amy. She is clearly shaken and still unsure about trusting him. Jack tries to explain again, telling her that Julia must have stalked him online and learned about the birthmark from his photos. To prove it, he shows her the picture. Seeing this, Amy slowly begins to trust him again. But while they are focused on this, they fail to notice a new danger approaching. The balloon is drifting dangerously close to a mountain range. With the burners not working, they have no control over direction. In a desperate attempt to reduce weight and rise higher, they start throwing items out of the basket. But it is not enough. The balloon collides with the mountain peak, tearing part of it. Somehow, despite the damage, it drifts away from the mountains. Meanwhile, Julia, still badly injured, begins writhing in pain. Amy, despite everything, shows compassion and gives her water. But even in this condition, Julia remains obsessed with her demand. She insists that Jack must pay because he has wronged her. Ignoring her, Jack and Amy focus on survival. The balloon continues drifting into the clouds. Visibility drops, and the temperature becomes freezing cold. Taking advantage of the chaos and poor visibility, Julia manages to free her hands. Jack, unable to see clearly, doesn't notice it in time. Once free, Julia resumes her threats, again demanding that Jack pay her. Confused and frustrated, Jack tells her that he doesn't understand what she wants. He reminds her that he helped her at the bar, but Julia calls him a liar, her anger growing stronger with every word she speaks. This accusation finally pushes Jack over the edge. Frustrated, he snaps and asks Julia if she is seriously blaming him now. But Julia doesn't back down. Instead, she reveals the truth behind everything. She tells him that he is a cruel man. She reminds him of the employee who begged him not to be fired, the same old man who later died. Hearing this, both Jack and Amy are stunned. In that moment, everything becomes clear. Julia is not just a random blackmailer. She is here for revenge. She is the daughter of the man who died. A heavy silence fills the air. But before they can process it fully, Julia suddenly attacks Jack with the knife. Amy jumps in to protect him, but it's too late. Julia manages to stab Jack. Luckily, the knife hits his shoulder instead of his heart. He is injured, but alive. Amy, now completely terrified, tries to calm Julia down. She tells her that she will pay the money and asks her to trust her and hand over the knife. For a moment, Julia hesitates. It feels like she might finally stop. But in that exact moment, Jack takes advantage of the situation. He attacks her from behind and pushes her forcefully. Julia's head hits the gas cylinder with full impact, and she dies instantly. Amy is completely shattered. She just witnessed her husband kill someone. In shock, she asks him why he did it, especially when Julia was about to give up. Jack defends himself, saying that Julia would have eventually harmed Amy. But the situation only gets worse. While they are distracted, the balloon crashes into the mountains again, causing even more damage. Now the balloon is unstable and on the verge of crashing completely. Jack tries to think of a solution. With no other option left, he suggests reducing weight to balance the balloon. But they have already thrown away almost everything. Then Jack says something disturbing. He suggests throwing Julia's body out of the basket. Amy immediately refuses. But Jack ignores her and moves forward with his plan. At the same time, Amy focuses on survival. She manages to relight the burner and regain partial control of the balloon, allowing them to rise above the mountains. For the moment, they are safe. But the emotional tension between them returns. Amy is still disturbed by everything that has happened, especially Julia's accusations. An argument begins between them, and suddenly, something goes terribly wrong. The floor beneath Amy's feet breaks. It had been weakened by the earlier fire. She slips and falls, barely managing to grab onto the edge. Hanging mid-air, she desperately calls out to Jack for help. But Jack doesn't react immediately. He just stands there, watching. Even as Amy struggles for her life, there is a moment of hesitation. Finally, he pulls her up and saves her, but the damage is already done. Amy is deeply disturbed by his delay. She starts questioning his intentions. She asks him directly if he is tired of her, if he secretly wanted her to fall. Jack quickly denies it, saying he was just scared and didn't know how to react. Trying to fix the situation, Jack apologizes and starts explaining himself. He says that everything he has ever done was for her. His business, his struggles, even this trip, everything was for her happiness. He insists that he loves her deeply. But before they can resolve anything, another danger appears. Without realizing it, the balloon drifts straight into a storm cloud. Heavy rain and strong winds hit them violently. The balloon takes more damage, and the burner goes out again, leaving them completely out of control. Once again, Amy risks her life. She climbs up and manages to secure the torn fabric of the balloon, while Jack helps tie it down. With great effort, she relights the burner. Slowly, they manage to escape the storm and move away from the mountains. The sky clears, and the balloon begins to descend. For a moment, it feels like they might survive this nightmare. But Amy's mind is still filled with doubt. Julia's words continue to echo in her head. She suddenly remembers something strange. She asks Jack how Julia knew about his sock brand. Seeing his birthmark online is one thing, but knowing such a specific detail feels different. Jack casually brushes it off, saying it's not a big deal. But now, Amy is no longer convinced. Jack casually tries to explain himself. He says that sometimes pants ride up and people can see the brand of socks. But Amy is no longer convinced. Calmly, she says that if he is truly innocent, then Julia's phone should prove it. Determined to find the truth, she starts searching for the phone. Jack notices it lying near Julia's body. In that moment, he makes a quick decision. Without Amy noticing, he subtly kicks the phone out of the balloon. This small act says everything. When Amy fails to find the phone, her suspicion grows even stronger. She then asks for Jack's phone instead. Confident that he has deleted everything, Jack hands it over. But Amy is smarter than he expected. She manages to recover the deleted messages. At first, they don't seem too serious. It looks like Julia was trying to trap him. But then Amy finds something that changes everything. A video. Jack had never opened it, but this video reveals the truth. Jack is not innocent. Julia was telling the truth all along. The realization completely breaks Amy. She looks at him with disbelief and pain. Knowing there is no way out, Jack finally confesses. He admits that he got close to Julia, but tries to justify himself. He says it wasn't serious and that he still loves Amy. He blames their distance, saying they haven't been close in months. But this only makes things worse. Amy is furious. She starts yelling at him, and instead of apologizing, Jack's ego takes over. He turns cruel. He humiliates her, reminding her of her past. He says she was just a simple school teacher earning less than his janitor, and that he is the one who gave her this luxurious life. Those words shatter Amy completely. Tears roll down her face. She never imagined that the man she loved could be this heartless. With pain and anger, she tells him that Julia was right about him. Everything she said was true. She tells him that he doesn't deserve to live and that she ruined her life by being with him. She then threatens him. She says she will go to the police and tell them everything, including how he killed Julia. But instead of being afraid, Jack laughs. In his mind, there is only one solution left. He decides that he will kill Amy. As he moves toward her, fate turns against him. He steps on the same broken part of the floor where Amy had almost fallen earlier. This time, he loses his balance and falls. In desperation, he grabs onto a rope hanging from the balloon. Now he is the one hanging for his life. He looks up and begs Amy to save him, but Amy just stands there, watching him silently, just like he did. For a moment, their eyes meet. Jack tries to climb back up, struggling to survive, but Amy doesn't move. Instead, she picks up Julia's body and pushes it toward him. The impact breaks his grip. Jack falls. In that moment, Amy completes what Julia could not. She takes revenge not just for herself, but for Julia as well. As both Jack and Julia's bodies fall, the balloon crashes and bursts into flames. The fire destroys everything, leaving no evidence behind. Amy walks away from the burning wreckage. She has lost everything, but she is finally free. Free from lies, betrayal, and the man who destroyed her life. And with that, the story ends, as Amy chooses to move forward and live life on her own terms.